I'm doing my advanced curriculum class for Newman University, and I'm doing a PowerPoint on professional learning standards to the 7th and 8th grade teachers. The purpose of the new professional learning standards is that there is a direct link between, they believe there's a direct link between educator learning and the learning of every student. So they want us to continue learning, which they used to call it professional learning development, and now they've changed it to standards because they feel like that means, well, it used to be professional development, PDC is what it used to be, but now it is professional learning, because they feel like if teachers are continuing to learn, then that helps, is a direct link to our students getting better and getting more proficient on tests and our state scores going up. So continuous learning enables the profession's members to refine and extend their knowledge, skills, practices, and dispositions related to their specific role and context, and the goal of professional learning standards is to increase educator effectiveness. There are 7 standards now. There used to be 10, so it's been revised, and that's better for us. So they also work in partnership with one another. It used to be that people concentrated on 1 or maybe 2 standards, but now they want the emphasis to concentrate on all 7, and they dovetail on each other, so people can't just skip around and say, oh, I learned about learning communities at a workshop, but nothing else. So they're doing more training, so they work on all of the standards. It increases, this is the first one, learning communities, which we have that here already in place, our PLCs. We have professional learning. Every standard starts with what's in blue. Professional learning that increases educator effectiveness and results for all students. Occurs within learning communities committed to continuous improvement, collective responsibility, and goal alignment. So they're really wanting us to all come together and take the responsibility of ownership over these students. And they're teaching this through workshops, seminars. They're actually sending teachers out to become coaches and bringing those kids or teachers back to the schools to educate us. There's actually a coaching academy out there and classes that schools are sending teachers to, and then those coaches are coming back in and being part of the team. And sometimes they're veteran teachers and sometimes they're brand new teachers. So they want us all to be part of the learning community. The second standard is leadership, and this is going to focus more on our building administrators, counselors, which I think is great because I'm doing this as a building leadership master's class, and this shows me what I am going to have to continue to learn. That once I get my master's, it doesn't just stop. That I'm going to have to go out there and keep up on all the new curriculum and all the new ways to teach, and so I can come back to you guys and be part of that community learning center and not just say, hey, go do this. That's not what it's about anymore. It requires skillful leaders who develop capacity, advocate, and create support systems for professional learning. The third standard is our resources. Where are we going to get all this training? Where are we going to get all the new technology that's out there? I know since I've been back in college, I've learned so many new technology that I can use in my classroom or I can use for presentations. One of them is iJot, and I've never done that before, and it's tiny little video clips. They're less than 5 minutes, and then you record what you're doing in class, and then you can send it everywhere. And it's all through your laptop. It's really kind of cool. But it requires prioritizing because of the budget cuts. We definitely have to say, well, we can't send every teacher out to all these new seminars or workshops. We just don't have the money, and you guys know that from our district, cutting back on that. I know when I first started here, we used to go to a lot of workshops, and that's not the case anymore. So that's why they're looking at teachers becoming coaches and taking classes and then coming back here. So it's less money for the district. Coordinating resources for educator learning, and that's just bringing everybody together. We did PLCs at the beginning of the year. We did our 6th through 8th grade ELA, and then you did science and you did math. So we're combining all our resources that way, but what I would like to do now is go K through 12 and get all of our English language teachers together. And didn't you do that, Carrie?
We did,
yeah. And I think they're looking at more of that kind of using all of our resources, everybody's teachers' ideas, and maybe workshops they've gone to. Instead of just going to a workshop and saying, presenting, then coming back and saying, oh, I did this in my class, but make everybody accountable for using it and not just use it once and then it's done, but pooling our resources that way. The next standard is using your data, which we usually do at the beginning of a year. We look at our state standards, I look at CELPA scores, there's other resources, and they're saying use your data from, your math classes, which you teach all the 7th and 8th grade math classes, so you really can't go to another 7th and 8th grade math class and say, hey, how did your kids do on fractions, and compare. Bigger schools are doing that. They're looking at, 3 3rd grade classes in their building and saying, well, we taught this way, how did your kids do? And comparing test scores just in the classroom, not just state standards. But, getting our tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 kids and identifying this didn't work, so we need to go back and reteach this and get it better. And what are different ways, and pooling our resources that way. But definitely looking at all the data that's out there that I don't know that we maybe look at once in a year, and then once we got our kids there, we kind of forget about it. But doing it throughout the year. The next standard is learning designs, and that's integrating theories, research, models of human learning to achieve its intended outcomes. Okay, so that's where I think more building leadership needs to come in and go out and look at the research and keep doing research and seeing what's available to help their staff be more proficient in teaching and changing and coming up with new ways to teach kids. And then it's implementation, and they said that this is probably the hardest part. Teachers do it once, but then, well, it didn't work, or I wasn't comfortable doing that, and change is hard. I mean, change is hard for all of us, and so looking at how we can change that is substantial, but it stays. We sustain it over the whole in a long term. So that's what they're looking at for implementation, and it takes time. It's going to take time to get everybody on board, and building leadership has to really not push it down our throats, but show us how this helps, and not just say we have to do it. Still going?
Yeah.
Okay. And then look at the outcomes, and this used to be divided into 3 different standards, and now they've lumped it all in one, and aligns its outcomes with educator performance and student curriculum standards. So not just looking at our state, how the kids are doing on the state test, but how we taught them and keeping us all accountable. The sample of the learning standards I gave you on, it shows the teacher responsibilities, the coach's responsibilities, and the principal responsibilities of professional learning. And that's just on the learning community, and they're all divided up like that. So that gives you a good idea of what we're responsible for, what the coach is responsible for, and keeping everybody accountable, and then what the principal is responsible for. The reasons for implementing is there's a new district accreditation that's coming into Kansas, and Kansas actually has already adopted it, and every aspect of that accreditation has this in it, our professional learning standards. So we're going to have to do it to keep our school accredited. When educator practice improves, students have a greater likelihood of achieving results, and when students improve, the cycle repeats. So it's continuous, that we're always going to see student growth. As long as we keep learning, they're going to keep learning.